and good morning, everyone. It's not too late to wish you all a happy new year. It's our first meeting of the year, and uh, I picked a poem today that um, that think I didn't think any of you except Martha would know, and Martha will has volunteered to tell us a little bit about the poem. But I'm going to read it first, and just to get it in our ears, in our mind, and then Martha, I'll ask you to give us some background about the poem and its author, uh, Griffin Urbaniak. Um, and so let me read it to you. It's called Boys and Girls. Um, See what you think. I like boys. This has always been true. Even at 4, I can recall drooling at the posters of the mohawked and booted punk rockers in my babysitter's bedroom. Then at 12, the obligatory fumbling with schoolmates in the basement rec room. I told my mother we were playing a very special game that no one else could see, and she, in blessed ignorance, believed me. And of course, at 15, a holy rolling over, the one who drove it home, but gentle at first, before that thrust into the forbidden, where we rode with no guilt. I like boys, but I also like you. And I begin a new game as I undo the bow of your blouse, my fingers trembling as I reveal my bra hook ineptitude. We laugh at this, and the bed is confused. I learn a new landscape, these hills, the soft plateau of your stomach, and the valley below. When we combine, it is no less real than the men pressed against me I have known. And when we undo, I have a new name, a new category to fit into. But I would prefer, as we fall into sleep on the stripy sheets, to call myself nothing more than a boy who likes boys, but also likes you. Um, I love this poem, and we can talk about whether you do or not, uh, or in what ways you do. But let Martha, hi, it's good to see you as always. And uh, tell us, as said before, I think you are the only other person uh, participating today who actually knows something about the background of this poem and the person who wrote it.
Although I just emailed Renata Roskopf. Do you remember her?
I do, yes.
Griffin was in 2.5 advanced poetry workshops with me in my last 3 semesters at UMass Boston, where I had shared an office and the directorship of the creative writing program with Lloyd for many years.
By
You
choice. by
By
choice.
choice. We could have had separate offices, but we chose to share an office on the door of which it said Creative Writing Office. Um, so usually Lloyd and I traded students. We made a point of this, telling them not to just keep taking one of us, but to go back and forth. But somehow Griffin ended up in my workshops for 2.5 semesters. He dropped out in the middle of 1997, the spring of 1997. But also in 1997, published this chapbook called Spark Stinger. And I had lost track of that chapbook. And then Christmas 2019, a month before Lloyd retired from UMass and had to vacate the office, he invited me at some point, he said, to come and look over the office and all the stuff I'd left behind, which was quite a bit. And we chose Christmas Day, and honestly, it's my favorite Christmas Day of my life. No one was on the campus except the two of us, completely silent. And we spent the day going through books and papers. And at some point, I found this chapbook and I said, "Oh, Lloyd, I have to read a poem to you." And because I remembered this poem. The other poems in the chapbook I have reread and are also wonderful. But so I immediately turned to Boys and Girls and read the poem to Lloyd. The chapbook has a tiny bit of biography in it. Griffin was raised near Lake Michigan and was the only child, he tells us, of a piano teacher and a computer systems analyst. Another poem in the chapbook, excuse me, I'm losing my voice, tells us that he was born in 1975, which means that when he wrote this poem, he was 21 or 22, a poem we did in my class. The biography also tells us that the poem was, his first poem was published when he was 4 years old, an age that's referred to in the poem in front of us. And I have to say, I admire, as I read these poems again, even this morning, I just admired so much that what I felt about this poem. I remember when he turned this poem in, I said, "Griffin, this is a poem I've never read before." And I was so excited about that. But I can say that about other poems too. So thanks, Lloyd.
Um, oh, thank you, Martha. Uh, couple of other things. Um, tell us about the name Griffin Urbaniak.
So I think that this was a chosen name. Um, I'm pretty sure of that. And then at some point, I realized that it's was a legally changed name because of how it appeared in the records. The first poem in this little chapbook is about his very difficult relationship with his father. And so I think that's a piece of his choosing a new name. Um, that's really all I know.
But we don't know what happened to him.
Well, I'm
Or
going
do or
to
do we?
I'm going to go a little further down this rabbit hole of looking for Griffin because I think I found him um, in Michigan. Um, and now that you have presented his poem to the world and I have his chapbook, um, I would like to contact him.
Wow. Did you find him online or
No, nothing quite so simple.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
I'm endlessly going down these rabbit holes, so I may or may not have found him.
Yeah. Well, that's very good news to me if you have. And it would be fascinating and wonderful to know what he was up to now and if he's still writing poems. But he was a remarkable student. I think he was in my poetry not workshop,
Ah,
but in my poetry as literature class, because
ah,
he had been a student of mine as well, but not a writing student. And I remember your being excited about this this poem when he wrote it. Um, so what's been your response to this poem? Um, do you like it? Do you love it? Are you offended by it? What do you think? I'm gonna have to call on someone if I.
Oh.
Oh,
Lloyd,
Ginny. All right.
yeah. I, Lloyd, when you first sent this poem, I read it and I thought, I'm sorry, Jeannie, did you want to say something?
No, I'm just laughing at our being on the hot spot. I think Susan had her hand up. Susan Levin?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Go ahead, Susan.
I did. Hi, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I loved it. I've read it quite a few times. I'm sort of struck by the combination of the awkwardness of the awkwardness of the content and the beauty and sophistication of the language. There's some wonderful phrases in there, and yet it's so poignant and uncomfortable in terms of the struggle going on.
Yeah.
I was gonna follow Susan, your lead there. I
Yeah.
felt it was so humble and sweet and but very humble. It's just very touching.
Yeah.
Can you mention some of the Susan, can you mention some of the language that
Yeah, like,
particularly struck you?
well, in the first stanza, mohawked and booted,
Uh-huh.
obligatory fumbling, blessed, oh, the rolling, holy rolling over.
Uh-huh.
I loved that.
Yeah.
Those kind of phrases. There are more,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Uh,
it's so touching.
yeah.
It's so uncomfortable and excited. I mean, it just has all these tensions in it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
I
Ginny,
didn't
yeah.
find it. I like the frankness of it,
Mm-hmm.
beginning with I like boys. I felt some comfort actually in his descriptions, despite the the obligatory fumbling. And I liked what I felt was a frankness in describing situations.
Yeah. Yeah. Real frankness, honesty, kind of
Mm.
just openness. I'm just gonna say everything that I'm thinking. I'm not gonna censor myself in any way. Um,
I think Hume has his hand raised, wanted to
Yeah,
add
oh,
something.
Hume, sorry.
yeah, that's fine. I just was going to say there's an innocence to it. That's a kind of wonderful innocence. It's very simple and straightforward, and that's what struck me the most.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, you're being very shy today. Okay, Nick, go ahead. Nick,
Well, maybe I'm saying something similar, but I thought the plainness and simplicity of the language and his pushing to maintain that. At the bottom of the first page, he says he has a new category to fit into, but then I would prefer to call myself nothing more than a boy who likes boys, but also likes you. I mean, I thought that was charming and trying to get it just as plain and down to earth. And even in the title, I mean, we're all taught to start a title of a poem or the first line or two to capture the reader and bring him in and say, I want to read this poem. But if you see a poem titled Boys and Girls, I mean, that could be like Cats and Dogs or Black and White. But 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 he takes it and you read it and you get wrapped up by it.
Yeah. Yeah. Sarah, yeah.
Happy New Year, everyone.
New Year.
I thought this poem was delicious. It's interesting because all of the descriptors before, the innocence, the frankness, it's all there, but there's no pulling back from the sensuous pleasure in it. And I just thought it was beautifully wrought in its simply stated experience, and there's an emotional element to it, but it's a very experiential poem, and it's quite lovely.
Good, thank you. Charles.
Yeah, innocence was the first thing that I thought I wanted. I think Martha showed me this poem last year or sometime, and I was just delighted by it. And I think part of what I like so much about it is how bemused it is. It shouldn't be possible that I like boys, but I also like you. How could that happen? And talking that through is a kind of talking that people don't do. I mean, I think that's part of why it feels so frank. I mean, it is quite direct, and I think it's lovely.
Good. Well, let's.
Robin has her hand up.
Oh, great. Hi, Robin. We need you to unmute. Oh, there you
Hi.
go.
Yeah, there I
Hi.
go. I appreciate everybody's delight in the poem. My issue with the poem, and maybe it's not so much an issue as something that the poem issues in me, is this concern for naming, what to call oneself. What to call oneself to oneself, and to the reader, and to the culture, and to the woman. How does he want to call himself? Well, he wants to remain, as he says repeatedly, he wants to call himself, how does he phrase it?
He doesn't.
He wants to
Nothing
name.
more than a boy who likes boys.
Or he keeps
Yeah.
repeating, I like boys.
Right.
Right at the end, I think.
Call myself. Nothing more.
I have a new name, a new category to fit into. What is the new name and the new category to fit into? And then to call myself nothing more than a boy who likes boys, but also likes you. So what category is he talking about? And what does he think he wants or needs to fit into? And this is a concern I have about the poem. So I question how he seeks to represent himself in terms of the category and the new name. And I just wonder what other people think, where he's going with that.
Yeah, go ahead, Meredith.
Yeah, I really like the poem for its evocation of that age, which I think we're all pretty much in this group well beyond, where you you fall in love or you are attracted to people in order to find out who you are, in part, anyway, sometimes in large part. So the speaker is at that age where he wants to understand what he is, who he is, how to think about himself. And in fact, after the lovemaking, before they fall asleep, as we fall into sleep, the speaker is returning to these questions of self-identification. And that, for me, so well evokes being in your 20s. It's just lovely.
We have a couple people. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Mary.
Joy, Martha, and Catherine, I think.
And Meredith.
One of the things that
Oh, yeah.
I found refreshing about the poem is sort of a resistance of somebody trying to impose a category on someone else. And it's not trying to find his category right now, but that there should not be categories that we have to put ourselves in for sexual or any other kind of thing. We are who we are. We love who we love when we love them, and that should be enough. And we shouldn't have to label it, because every time you label it, you're boxing it up into something of your own making and not letting somebody be authentic.
Martha, and then I think Catherine and Bill.
Yeah, there's a crucial word that we're ignoring in talking about the categorization at the end of the poem. It's one of my favorite and most important words in poetry, and it's but.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a new name, a new category to fit into, but I would prefer. And that's the opening out, the finding. It's not a category. He's called myself nothing more than, and he's making something up, which is describing his own experience, not categorizing in the way that we're taught to do.
Catherine and then Bill.
I spent a summer being the priest at St. Mary of the Harbor in Provincetown, which was interesting for very many reasons. They thought I would stay in my own house and they could rent the rectory, and I said no, I get to stay in your house, and we get to rent our house. And so there was this sort of funny thing back and forth. And I didn't know anybody except the person who had hired me. And the thing that the group was most interested in was they did a mainly lesbian Eucharist on Saturday mornings, and they wanted to know up front whether I would do it. And I said, sure, as long as you ask the bishop. And the bishop at that point was about 4 months or 5 months behind on his correspondence. So I thought, I've asked, we'll never know. And he answered by return mail and said, yes, I'd like to come and watch this and see. And then he asked me what clothes he should bring. And I said, you should come the way you are. It's summer. Oh, it was a long, and everybody worried. There was in the group a lesbian poet, and she had been in the group for a long time and had many close friends. And at the end of the summer, she fell in love with a man, and she was humiliated, and she didn't know what to do, and she didn't know whether to come back to the group. And it seemed to me, and luckily he was in New York, so it didn't have to sort of be face to face all the time. But she was not 20. She was 50. And so the innocence of this poem, I think, was true of this poet. But I think it's just as surprising to anybody else who suddenly goes, oh, but, and learns something. And she was quite happy. Kept her friends, married the guy. And we all sort of thought, it's a wonderful world now. It's maybe better.
Bill.
Oh, yeah. Well, the first thing I wanted to say is that I don't know whether I understood Robin's point. When she was worrying about the meaning of the new name and the new category. I had taken that in my stride and just thought that it meant bisexual. But I may be missing something there. So I'd quite like Robin to come back on that if possible. But the other point I wanted to make was that the innocence which people have referred to seems to be a kind of achieved innocence. And some of the verbal felicities which Susan pointed to hint at the background against which we are encouraged to regard that innocence as achieved. So Susan referred, for example, to the holy rolling over, and obviously the pun on holy rollers hints at the sort of rather fascistic religious context in which the utterance occurs. Moral majority, born again, evangelical, Toronto blessing type Christians who might disapprove of homosexuality, and it's that hinted background is, as it were, what encourages us to see the plainness and the simplicity and the innocence as achieved in the teeth of a rather vexed political context of utterance.
I think Wendell also.
Okay,
Is that all right, Lloyd, or did you want to?
Yeah, well, I was just wondering if Robin wanted to say anything further, and then Wendell.
Bill, I wondered why he didn't use the word bisexual, if he was in fact avoiding it, or
yeah.
Well,
watching this poet struggle, I think she was describing what was happening, and it was neither innocence nor clever nor anything else. It was just, well, a much more descriptive than having a point of view about a new label. She just noticed she was in love with somebody else.
Wendell and then Martha.
Well, the discussion has increased my appreciation of the poem in many ways.
Okay.
From my first reaction, I find that my emotional response is one of envy. Envy for the lack of Calvinism or rebellion against Calvinism, which corrupted that period in my life so much. It's at in the middle of my 80s, it's the one thing I regret is that I didn't have the kind of awareness this poet had at that age.
Martha?
Yeah, I don't think he's, Robin sees that as an avoidance of naming, but I am assuming that he knows exactly what that name is and that he's counting on us to supply it. Griffin, he has a poem in here called Screaming Love Poem, which is a poem that is the most sexual poem I think I've ever read. And he never names exactly what the sexual act is, but he makes you experience it. And that's one of the things I admire about these poems, including this one. I don't think the language of this poem is simple. I think the description is kind of amazing. And one of the things I love is it's called Boys and Girls. And then we go to this childhood game, and then we have a new game. The other thing I would say, Wendell, is that, in fact, there's an amazing poem in here about his grandfather, who was a hell and brimstone preacher. So that holy roller reference is not.
Thank you. Ginny and then Catherine.
Yeah, I agree with Martha that I I like the I'm in another category much more than naming a category. I feel it's a more gentler, more poetic way of describing. I took from this poem the fluidity of sexuality. I think, and I found this poem a little bit maybe dated in the sense that the reference to punk rock um, made me place the poem in maybe the early to mid 90s without knowing anything. And that I do think that this idea of the fluidity, that it's not two categories, it's a continuum. And people are, maybe more than they even know, are at different places on the continuum. I mean, this is not my own thinking. This is someone expressed this to, something that I've picked up. And I do think that, well, if you think about these things, I think that this idea has been around for a while, fluidity. And I think, though, when he wrote this, I don't think it was as part of the zeitgeist as it is now.
Yeah. Yeah. Catherine.
I'm a little puzzled by the title, which seems to contradict the last lines of the poem. As other people, as Bill and Martha have said, the word bisexual hovers over several lines without, and makes itself felt by not being named, but we all know that name that he's not using. And in his but, as Martha says, that important but, I would prefer to call myself nothing more than a boy who likes boys, but also likes you. But why is the title plural, boys and girls? It seems to contradict the feeling that he's having at the end, that it's not a new category, but a particular person.
Sarah, I don't know. Do you want to deal with that question along with whatever you were going to say?
Yeah,
before?
something on the fly just occurred to me about the plurality, and it's in the poem about there have been plural men prior to, and then you can make the leap. Maybe, I mean, maybe there might be more girls. I don't know. But the potential is there, that we're not stopping here. Wherever here is, we're not stopping. That's my on the fly assessment of that.
Okay.
But I wanted to go back to the simplicity element, because I think another respondent had used the qualifier achieved for innocence. I think it was for innocence. And I say achieved simplicity. And when I say simplicity, I think Mozart. I think that something is so de-Barockified. It's so paired to the most essential of which is why I love poems, because poems are like the essential oils of literature. So when I say simple, I'm not saying simplistic. The simplicity in this poem, it's like it's refined. It's a refining of everything into its most essential simplicity. There's nothing missing, and everything is here for us to gnaw on or revel in. So I just wanted to say that.
Susan.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. I don't want to get away from the content that people are talking about, but could someone say something about the use of or the lack of capital letters to start sentences, and does that feed into what we're talking about? And was that was a trend in poetry, wasn't it then?
I'm so glad someone mentioned that. Martha, did you want to talk about that, or did you had something else to say? You're muted.
Okay, I'll do two things. One, my
Good.
comment was in response to Catherine. I sometimes talk about and love a little tension between the title of a poem and the poem. And so there's this general category, which, as I think I mentioned before, sort of throws me into childhood. Boys and girls. Now boys and girls, we will, whatever. And then it becomes very particular. And I kind of like that. I like that large category and then this sort of narrowing down. All I will say is that in response to the punctuation, all of his poems are written like this. Legacy of E. Cummings, of course. But in this chapbook, there are no capital letters that I can find.
Yeah. But I think you're right that there was a style back, 30 years ago or more. Yeah, it probably all came from E. Cummings, but that lots of poets were doing that. And
what's the point of that?
Well, what's the point of that? Well, a question I used to ask myself about that habit, which I never particularly liked, and I always thought that small I always kind of exaggerated the importance of I because it was being different. So it was me, I, but modest little me. There's some way in which I actually love it in this poem, and that I find what some of you earlier talked about as modesty or humility or a kind of understatement about the self and identity. I find that very genuine in this poem, and that the small I actually means something to me in this poem in a way that I resisted it in poems by, that I would see in magazines by better known writers, older writers, more established writers, just being kind of ickily unself-important. I Martha, does that make sense to you?
Sure.
Okay. But I'm glad you brought that up. And I totally agree with Martha about that boys and girls. I can just I can hear an elementary school teacher saying that, or especially a substitute elementary school teacher saying that. Bill.
Well, I sort of hear what you're saying about the lowercase letters, but I found it irritating, really. It seemed too self-regarding to me. But one thing I liked, which hasn't been picked up on so far, is the flow he creates by little sort of verbal echoes, vowel echoes. It starts with always, and then recall, and then drool and boot, and all the way through there are these little echoes which are manipulated to create a sense of flow. I think that's very so. The poem sounds beautiful as well as being thought-provoking and erotic and the rest of it.
Thank you. Yeah.
I think Catherine Black wanted to add something.
Oh, good.
I think the boys and girls sounded to me like boys and girls get in line, please. And the whole point of this poem is I'm not going to be in that line. It's
Right.
one of the points that it's,
Yeah.
I'm not this and I'm not that.
Yeah.
And I don't think, when somebody said, you know, bisexual language had been around for a long time, longer time, people had no labels. I mean, the history of poetry is not to label things. They described what happened, or what they envisioned happening, or what they wanted to happen. But the labels are comparatively recent as writing goes along.
Oh, Delia.
Hi. I just want to point out the about the bed sheets being confused. It's just a great phrase.
I love that
I
too.
do too. The stripy sheets.
Yeah, and the stripy sheets,
Eat those.
which is one of my favorite words in the poem. But yeah, so there's something is being confused by this sexual fluidity, whatever you want to call it, and it's the sheets, and that's it's both funny and very touching.
I think it's the bed that's confused, not the sheets.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yes, the bed is confused. Yeah, the bed is confused. Were there other? I thought I saw some other hands up.
Made a comment about the small I as being in the chat. It was in the chat. Let me go back. Oh, it's just that it always strikes her, the small I. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's not. As I say, it's a habit. It was a habit. I think not really so much anymore. That always irritated me, but somehow doesn't in this poem, where the where the lowercase I think is I don't know, there's something genuine about it and functional about it.
John wanted to
Oh,
add
great.
to that.
Oh, John, yeah.
Hi, Lloyd. I really love the sly sense of humor in the poem, and particularly the word drool. It comes from really, it's a brilliant way of introducing precious bodily fluids into the poem without mentioning those fluids. And so drool has to stand for that. That's just so wonderful.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. What? Oh, Susan, yeah. You're muted. Susan, you're muted. There you go.
I just, in addition to all the wonderful things people have been saying, I was so struck by the sensuality of the language as he explores the young woman's body, and you get that the way the language rolls. I began a new game as I undo the bow of your blouse and the valleys and this and I just, that coming after the rocker, the rockers and all of that really struck me, the way it allowed him then to button up the poem with that wonderful
last line, and what struck me was the musical flow of the language through that.
As I say, it's a habit. It was a habit. I think not really so much anymore. That always irritated me, but somehow doesn't in this poem, where the where the lowercase I think is I don't know, there's something genuine about it and functional about it.
John wanted to
Oh,
add
great.
to that.
Oh, John, yeah.
Hi, Lloyd. I really love the sly sense of humor in the poem, and particularly the word drool. It comes from really, it's a brilliant way of introducing precious bodily fluids into the poem without mentioning those fluids. And so drool has to stand for that. That's just so wonderful.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. What? Oh, Susan, yeah. You're muted. Susan, you're muted. There you go.
I just, in addition to all the wonderful things people have been saying, I was so struck by the sensuality of the language as he explores the young woman's body, and you get that the way the language rolls. I began a new game as I undo the bow of your blouse and the valleys and this and I just that coming after the rock or the rockers and all of that really struck me, the way it allowed him then to button up the poem with that wonderful last line, and what struck me was the musical flow of the language through that.
Well, it's also it's a very sexy poem, and it's sexy about both sexes. And Martha,
That's just a chat comment. I'm just answering a chat question.
I see. I never look at those. What's the difference between the title and the first line? Do you feel a difference? Sarah, oh, good. You're muted.
No, it's the newfangled thing that Zoom has added. So if I move just my hand, it just like, I didn't actually raise my hand, but I was laughing and like waving my hands because it's very frank. I like boys, you know, boys and girls. Okay, but I like boys, and I like boys again, starts the next stanza. And it ends with nothing more than a boy who likes boys, but also likes you. I think the statement, I like boys, is pretty clear. But as this says.
Yeah, but there's more to it. And Charles, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the logic of the poem is here are the things that I feel, but I'm aware that other people are going to find that surprising, right? It should not be possible that though I like boys, I like you too, which is an insane attitude toward the world, but an almost universal one. So,
Yeah, Nick.
Well, I have almost seen here a very marked contrast between I like boys, the generic category, and then I like you. This poem is addressed to one female.
Yeah.
And so does that mean she's just one of the moment, but isn't normally in a relationship, uh, you wouldn't say to your girlfriend, I like girls. You'd say, I like her, I love you. And there's a big difference here. And I don't quite understand it, but I think it's a very significant part of this poem. And I'd be interested in people's thoughts.
Well, I think you raise a really good, you really raise a good question there, because it's in a way, I like boys is the category. And he's trying to get out of a category that life is more complicated than being put into a category. And he's resisting being a category, being gay, being homosexual. He's in that category and sees himself in that category, but also sees that isn't the whole story, that life is more complicated than that you can love anyone, you can like anyone, you can, yeah. Oh, Catherine. I didn't get a chance to read what you were.
Oh, I just wondered that the Holy Roller language is so often black, and you said the grandfather was a fire-breathing. Was he? I just wondered if he was white or black.
Oh,
Martha?
Yeah, he was white.
I assume that.
Griffin, like me, came from the Midwest, and in my family, we did not have holy rollers exactly, but that was a phrase that was used to refer to white holy roller churches, which were the most extreme evangelical, or in those days, fundamentalist churches. So where Griffin and I came from, that is associated with white people too.
It's not so much around here.
Yeah.
It seems to me just as I read and reread the poem, it's just breathtakingly frank. It's so it seems to me so honest, and there's all of these memories. The writer that it reminds me of, the poet, who's also another writer, but the writer it reminds me of so much is Joe Brainerd. I don't know if you know Joe Brainerd's work. He has a series of autobiographical books, all beginning with the title I Remember. And he remembers everything. I mean, really down to the smallest and most embarrassing things that he's lived through. And I I feel that in this poem also, that just these lists of what he remembers of his introduction to sexuality and the growing complexity of that. Meredith, you have your hand up. Well, I think you do.
Yes, yes, sorry. Um, I agree with you, and I love the frankness of it and the open, sort of overt plainness, but there's a lot of art in here too. The two stanzas, I think, are the same number of lines. And I'm very struck by the word stripy, because we normally say striped sheets, but stripes are associated with identity and the assignment of identity, earning your stripes, or what stripe are you? And it could also be prisoners' stripes, that there are acts that are illegal in some places still. And it's just very evocative, but it's kind of snuck in there. And I love that kind of subtlety.
Yeah.
That's all.
Thank you. Oh no, that's great. Because that's one of my favorite words in the poem. that it just, I mean, maybe it's the word in the poem that's least like the thing that people say, that's making some kind of poetic twist on the common language. Ginny, yeah. You're muted.
About Stripey, I read it as sort of a childish, but not in a bad way, in a fun, joyful way. Because I do think kids talk like that.
Yeah. Anyone else? I am loath to call on people, but there are people here who I'd love to hear from, and they know who they are.
Lloyd, while those people queue up, I was just gonna say it feels like a love letter. Feels like very the writers describing themselves and how they are and what informed them. And I love how each stanza starts with, I like boys. And the second one is, but I also like you.
I also like you. And there's a you. There's a you in the poem. There's a person in the poem whom the narrator, whom the writer likes.
Right.
Oh, Ellen, hi.
Hi. I'm wondering whether the stripey feels a little like, it's sort of distanced. We'd look at the sheets and say striped, but it's a little to me in the same category as this almost bewilderment. When we combine, it's no less real than the men pressed against me. So it's this, to me, it felt like a little surprise at overflowing the category that he assumed he was locked into. And to me, it feels like this whole thing is anti-category and this rejection of seeing people as individuals. I like boys, but you're a person I like. And so here we are on the stripy sheets. Again, like a detail of surprise almost.
Yeah.
It goes back to the confused bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love the confused bed.
And the striped, I thought that stripy, as somebody said, have a childlike sound. And also there's sheets that were chosen by someone else. It gives a sense of how young they are.
Yeah.
Bill, did you want to add to that?
Oh, Bill, sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to pick up on the mention people have made of the revelation of an address to a you in the second stanza, because that has a retroactive effect, doesn't it, on the way we think about the first stanza. When we first read the first stanza, we think of this as a declaration to the world, a defiant declaration of homosexuality. But once we realize that he's addressing a girl he's become interested in, it's almost as if the first section is establishing a context which lowers her expectations of a radical transformation. It's almost as if she's saying, yes, I like you, but this doesn't alter the fact that the main thrust of my orientation is still homosexual. I still like boys, and that means that probably there's not much future for us, or a rather speckled future in which he reverts to type periodically or something like that. And it means that the first stanza thereafter hovers between those two orientations, I think.
Which is part of what Stripey is doing in there.
Ah, yes.
But there are also, I think, something that we haven't really mentioned yet is that they're having fun. That they're well, there are two things. The fun of my fingers trembling as I reveal. I mean, there's something funny about that line break too. That there's something, my fingers trembling as I reveal my bra hook. Ineptitude. And then the joke is even funnier because for a moment we think he's about to reveal his own bra hook, and then the whole sentence switches. So they're really having a good time. And then there's something more. I think something has changed about as we fall into sleep. And that's not funny. And that seems very lovely and natural and easy and loving. It's not just a game. And so I think that begins these last few lines, to make those last few lines something really more moving than we expect. I think it's Wendell, Martha, and Robin.
Yes.
Wendell.
I may be repeating myself, but no one ever grows up. We can't do this as men and women. And that's a huge regret.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Martha.
Yeah, you skipped, Lloyd, the passage between the bra hook and falling into sleep, which is, I learn a new landscape line break, which can be a cliche for saying any old thing about new experience. But then we get the landscape, and we've gone from bra hook to these hills.
Yeah.
Oh, the soft plateau of your plateau line break of your stomach, and the valley line break below. I think that's pretty damn sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And as is the act at the end of the first stanza. I mean, I think it's very, very hard to write sex into poems, and I think he's just very good at that.
Extremely good at that. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Robin, yeah.
I think we would all agree that the poem concerns the speaker's desire, but it has nothing about the woman's desire or her experience. And I feel that absence in my experience of the poem.
But we laugh at this. So
Yeah, that's the only mention of the other person.
But
we fall can only be comfortable. I mean, one of them didn't get up and leave because it, you know, the experience was done. They fall into sleep together.
We fall into sleep.
That's both of them.
That's both of them. Yeah.
And we combine. You know, I think,
yeah.
You know, the point of view is the point of view of this writer. And I mean, I don't feel that there is a glaring lack, if you will, of the person who is the subject of the direct address. I don't feel that there is a lack. I think that the POV is very sensitive. It's my
Yeah. I mean, I think I guess if I were pushed, I would say that he can't speak for her. That this is his personal experience. This revelation for him is that he likes boys, but he likes her too. And he can't, and we don't know whether she's someone who likes girls, but she likes him, and they're having a good time, and they can laugh and they can fall into sleep together. Charles.
I'm struck as I read through the poem once, I'm struck by how willingly vulnerable the speaker is. And I read through the poem again, and he seems to me completely invulnerable, indestructible. I really want to send this poem to Donald Trump. I mean,
he can't read.
Can I know this is a bit technical here. If someone has a vacuum cleaner running in the background, it sounds like a vacuum cleaner. Just mute yourself. It's something I can pick up here, and I just wanted to throw it out there. But please keep going. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Alice?
Okay. Yeah, you know, I kept thinking about the question about the lack of capital letters and how the idea of that I think is that it creates a kind of intimacy, as if this was a little note you just wrote actually to the you know, a private note. And nowadays, the use of writing without capital letters is just so common on texts and social media and stuff, where it really doesn't achieve that kind of intimacy at all. But this actually does, and I think because of the language. So I suspect that's why you like it when you don't usually like it, Lloyd, because it really does feel. Somebody said about the description of the woman, it's so lovely, and the way the poem kind of slows down, you know, well, this whole thing in the past, but now this right now, exactly this, and it really does feel as if we are almost reading his private mail to the woman.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that explains what I'm feeling. Yeah. Um, thank you. Robin, do you? No.
No, I think I said something in the chat about how I always experience the lowercase I as somewhat coy.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I do too. And somehow I don't in this poem. Or I don't want to.
Wendell, did you
Charles.
want to add? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh,
Well, actually, on reconsidering what I said earlier, the the density, the density of his description of the experience, when we combine, it is no less real than the men pressed against me I have known. The plurality of that, the singularity of this particular experience, paying attention to it, a tenderness of combining. Those two lines just suddenly jumped out at me. Well, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Wen. What? Who had someone? Oh, Charles. You were. Yeah.
I'm just remembering, I think it's John Stuart Mill, isn't it, who says that prose is heard and poetry is overheard. And this strange sense that we have, and I think it's more true of this poem than of almost any other I can think of, the strange sense that we have of language that's entirely public. I mean, we can all look all of these words up in the dictionary. They belong to all of us. And something that's being said only in this particular moment and only to one particular person. And there we are overhearing it. It's really kind of beautifully embarrassing.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's perfect. Yeah. Martha, do you know if this has been published?
Oh, you're muted, Martha.
In the chapbook. Lloyd, I'm going to send you a link because I know you never throw things away. They actually have a published poem by Griffin Urbaniak. It's an issue of something that you are also in. So I'm going to send you that. Aside from that, I don't know. I mean, we have a list of places where his poems were published, including the Watermark, which was the UMass Boston Literary Magazine, and some other things. The Boston Poet, I think that's maybe the link I know about. While I'm on here, I want to say a couple of biographical things. One is a correction. You asked about the name. I thought I knew this little chapbook backwards and forwards, but I forgot, as I often do, to read the dedication. So the dedication is to Helen Urbaniak Jersick. So his invented name is a reclamation of his mother's name, which is really interesting and important.
Wow.
The other biographical thing I want to remind everybody of is that this guy is 21 or 22 when he writes this poem. I was an idiot when I was 21 or 22. And his emotional awareness in poem after poem is really quite stunning. I don't know how, I mean, that was, at UMass, we had a lot of older students. And Griffin was college age. And I think that's important to remember.
Yeah, great. Important. Thank you.
Martha, if people wanted to read this chapbook, is it I'll look on our network if it, no.
No, very privately printed. I don't know if other people in those classes have copies of this. They're floating around somewhere, but I'm sure it's Eyes Like Wheels Publishing. I think that's basically self-publishing, though there was a website for Eyes Like Wheels, which no longer exists. So I don't know, but I will try again, as I say, to find Griffin himself.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I would love to know where he is and if he's still writing and just if he's all right.
Just one other thing, the all right is the question. Among other things, the last poem in the book, it juxtaposes being, it's a wonderful poem, but being in the psychiatric ward and being suicidal juxtaposes that with life in a way that's just breathtakingly wonderful. So I worry about him too, and I really will follow up.
Great. Any last words? No one mentioned the parenthetical remark about his mother. I told my mother we were playing a very special game and no one else could see, and she, in blessed ignorance, believed me. And just going through these stages of sexuality as a child and a teenager, and it just seems remarkable. But that there's a kind of precision about you. You can see this happening. You can imagine this happening. This telling his mother not to go into the basement because they're playing a very special game. And I also like the word undo. And when we undo, I have a new name, a new category to fit into. And undo is very loaded, it seems to me. Anything else? Thank you so much for joining the conversation today, and I don't think we've ever actually talked about a poem that so few of us have actually been aware of. I mean, two of us have actually been aware of, but no one else could possibly be aware of, unless you happen to be in that in Martha's workshop in the 1990s. John,
I have a question for you at the end. What do you think Elizabeth Bishop would say about this poem? Yeah, I mean that's another hour long.
Yeah, well, I would like to think that she would love it. And I think she would, and she would probably say to Griffin, "Don't publish this." But I think she would love it, and I think it has qualities of, I mean, especially since since we know about poems that she decided not to publish, and many of them were sexual and quite graphically sexual. And that, that I think the night-long, limb-long warmth I've grown accustomed to is not so different from the new landscape, the hills and the plateau of the stomach and the valley below. And I think she would admire it. I really do. And I think that's a good question too. Yeah, thank you. Martha, any closing words?
Just gratitude to you
for
bringing the poem to everybody's attention, and gratitude to everybody for the comments, and the nudge to me to try to find Griffin, which I will.
Good.
Been wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you both,
Thank you,
Lloyd
you
and
all.
Martha.
Thank you.
Happy New Year, and next month.